Peter, why don't you get in the middle of the hallway?
You guys talking a little?
Excuse me.
No, I took the door, so I don't want to
Hey, still, you guys talk about you blocking all of our shots.
Peter, his name is.
Sign inside too, right?
Thanks everybody for turning your lights on. control the light. Thanks. I think we should all put on 10K and screw everybody.
You caught it. You want my light?
No, can you actually bend your light that way? Or like, not for the light, but for, so it's out of the way. You
Yeah.
can turn it off too.
Oh, you don't want to bounce it?
No, I just, no.
You like this orange feel?
No, no, it's fine, it's just bouncing right through my lens.
How do you turn it?
It's okay, we're growing as a team, I'll get more.
Is
Yeah, that's what I mean.
that in your shot?
Yeah, it's the light itself is in my shot.
Okay. I'll put it to sleep.
There you go, thanks.
Markers. Did you watch that movie? Civil War? Isn't it about Reuters report?
Civil War?
Yeah. It's a new movie. It's about a bunch of reporters. It's like post-apocalyptic kind of. It's like there's a civil war in the United States. There's about these.
When did this come out?
Like 2 weeks ago. It's about these Reuters reporters from the DC president. They kill him. It was good. I saw it. Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was okay.
I mean, portrayed that was like,
Oh, it makes the president like complete badasses. We're like in combat, like right behind the gun. I'm like, I would never do that. But yeah, it's cool. I don't. There's still guys who are and girls. It's Kristen Dunst.
oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. So just a second.
a sinkhole in Brooklyn. I'm like, oh, never mind, it's a fender bender. Can you call the cops on these incidents before you send? Well, that's the best. Just like, it's never rush any. It's a scrolling citizen and then being like, run, run, run. Has he been in New York? I saw that there was a picture of him. It's fine if they like begin to go over no count.
Thanks for the lights, appreciate it. 4,000.
How high are you gonna go?
I'm gonna stand.
Are you gonna stand up?
Yeah, I can't see anything otherwise. Yeah, it's just the bottom of a boom hole. Remember we had the bottom of the boom holes like that?
Maybe they come left, you never know.
Nice, cameras off. Off. Cameras off.
Yes.
That's better. You can go up higher if you want. It's
Just let you know, your leg is right by my leg.
that one right there? Okay.
gives them the program knowledge to bro, that's quick draw. Yeah, it's not gonna say, yeah, they're just saying not to draw. Yeah.
I actually watched the news and I was like, oh,
You're like, oh, Kiki, let me watch
yeah, I was like,
watch the 11
this is kind of
watching the teleport. Let me just order it up.
now they'll never know.
$4,000 to them, to them. That's fine. It's okay. That would work. I turn mine on as soon as I, you know.
Christy's like, she needs her police pushing her out of life. She answers, she was like,
Because Charlie's staring at monsters.
yeah.
I was like, together, sorry.
I know it was like, sorry, I saw Curtis come out.
No, no problem. I mean,
Excited? Yeah,
I'm glad you said something because all I saw was the other way. I was looking that way.
usually when Curtis comes out, it's, but maybe you can only shoot for 10 minutes.
feel better?
For years, we're just like hanging side to side. About to go to drink water in the toilet bowl. Like, that's a more viable option.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that'd be better. Let it run for a while.
Given an idea, like,
always in the way. Entertainment. One of them. We almost wrapped up in there. Say again?
The attorneys have approved
Okay.
so they're probably going to schedule it.
Okay.
Or they're going to decide that they'll do a concurrent in California. But I doubt the D is going to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
How many days there?
Really? Yeah. You got any gear?
It's new bag. And it's fully ass. Take off the knees.
B-O-L-O-G-N-A. That was part of the song you were singing. B-O-L-O-G-N-A. Oscar Mayer Bologna. B-O-L-O-G-N-A. Bologna. O-S-C-A.
No, that wasn't, yeah. I was at the police. It's not like Pokemon catch them all and just kill them. No, you can't trust him. Curtis can stand it.
Gotta just eliminate Peter. It's been years.
And
The orange guy? Yeah. Peter's definitely. Peter's always in my way.
And Turtle Boy. So just seeing the dead body.
Oh, yeah.
You mean to set it on the floor? Yeah.
Just tuck that elbow in. No, you're good. You don't have to go that far, but that.
Like this.
You're singing my song.
You good, Joe? Yeah, push it out further, Peter, in the middle of the hallway. See him? I said push it out into the middle of the hallway. Let's get a longer lens. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
I am alive. So I'm only live. And my water bottle, so you don't have to bother picking it up. I just need her out of my way, that's all. not live, so she doesn't understand. John! John! Christ. Johnny.
Sampson and retired Judge Barry Kamens. We were Harvey Weinstein's attorneys at the trial 4 years ago. And we were in court today for Mr. Weinstein. Obviously, a lot of people ask, like, how do we all feel, including Mr. Weinstein? Obviously, there's a tremendous sense of relief that we're back here. The most obvious difference is the judge that we're before. Judge Curtis Farber clearly is the consummate professional. The way he handles his courtroom, the way he handles litigants before him on both sides. He has a reputation of being very fair, but the reputation that he really enjoys is being very intelligent. And that's what we want. We want a judge who will make legal rulings according to the law, not making legal rulings according to opinion polls or popularity contests. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the New York State court officers. They have been absolutely remarkable throughout the course of this, from 4 years ago till last week till today. And that makes a big difference on how a case operates and how it runs. Mr. Weinstein was treated with the dignity that a person who is presumed innocent deserves, because everyone should understand Harvey Weinstein is now presumed innocent. I asked in court for the indictment to be adjusted because there are no more allegations with Annabella Sciorra. He was found not guilty. Not guilty. We heard that twice. Jessica Mann was in the courtroom today. The big charge against her, not guilty, that jury said. Even with all that improper, illegal evidence against him, the jury said not guilty with the most serious charges with Jessica Mann. So yes, it was great publicity and great showmanship by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to have Jessica Mann in the second row today. However, if Mr. Weinstein went to trial on that, and if by some chance he would lose, he's walking out the back door with the rest of us, because he's already done more time than he could do at the minimal charge that remains regarding Jessica Mann. I thought it was, trying to be inappropriate for Gloria Allred to be in the court today. I've gone toe-to-toe with Ms. Allred for over a decade when I represented the great Lawrence Taylor in a case where we worked so hard to maintain the secrecy, the anonymity of the complainants in that case. And we disposed of that case, and then Gloria rolled out this 19-year-old young lady and exploited her for no reason except to get a lot of media attention. And that young girl suffered because of Gloria Allred. And once again today, why is she in that courtroom? For the media. Her client, who she represented, Mimi Haley, wasn't in the courtroom. She's there, and she knows that at the trial, Mimi Haley testified that she had no financial interest in the outcome of this case. And that Gloria Allred, who as far as I know was never an assistant district attorney or never a criminal defense attorney, was there to guide her through the criminal justice system. And moments after Mr. Weinstein was sentenced, a lawsuit was filed, and she got a significant check from an insurance company. Not from Mr. Weinstein, but from an insurance company. So the first question, if she dares to come and show her face here, will be, tell this jury how you lied to the last jury when you said you had no financial interest in the outcome of this case. When moments after the sentencing, you filed a lawsuit and collected a tremendous sum of money. We will now digest every syllable of the prior testimony of all the witnesses. We will assemble a team of the best and the brightest and make sure that this case is litigated properly in front of an excellent judge who the difference between this judge and the last judge is night and day. And we're very confident that if it goes to trial, the only words we'll hear at the end of the trial are not guilty. I do want to point out that Jennifer Bogine is here. She is handling Mr. Weinstein's appeal in California. She is, I believe on the record, I called her a brilliant lawyer. I will say that again. She is beyond fantastic. She has been a absolute pleasure to work with, but she has added so much depth to Mr. Weinstein's team and how she fights tooth and nail for not only Mr. Weinstein, for all of her clients. Yes, Mom.
And for people who don't know, why is the trial court judge James Brooks no longer on the bench? We both know the new district attorney now. How do you think this might play out differently under Allred and Taiwan?
Well, in the culture that I grew up, we're at Hogan Place, Frank Hogan when he was the district attorney, and Mr. Morgenthau, I don't believe they showed up in courtrooms. I believe that they felt, and their policy was, that's grandstanding. I'm not going to tell Mr. Bragg what he should do and where he should show up. I don't really know him personally. It's his office. If he wanted to be there today, if he thought that a 73-year-old man, maybe 72, how old was he? A 72-year-old man in a wheelchair is the case that he should be on here, as opposed to, I don't know what took place in Columbia last night. Hats off to the NYPD for their professionalism. Or maybe like the people on the subway who are getting robbed and mugged, the assaults. Maybe, he should, I would just say nicely to him, not as a wise guy, say, why don't you go sit in arraignments and look at what's going on there? That probably has more of an effect on your constituents in the city and in the borough of Manhattan than what's going on with Harvey Weinstein, who you all saw the condition he's in. He's not hurting anyone ever again, if that's what he was accused of in the beginning. I'm not saying he ever did. But, there may be different ways to use your resources when you're the chief executive. So he's the new DA. He has the power to decide whether we're going forward or we're not going forward. Not as Mr. Weinstein's attorney, but as a taxpayer, I would really love the district attorney of Manhattan, where I work and my friends work, to really focus on the crimes that affect all of us on the subways and on the streets, as opposed to something that happened decades ago to someone, allegedly by someone who can do no more harm. But Mr. Bragg will make the decision of how he wants to go forward. In terms of the trial judge, within 2 years after this trial, it was time for him to determine whether he was going to be reappointed by the mayor of the city of New York. There's a committee of lawyers and retired judges that Mayor Eric Adams appoints to vet judges who are up for reappointment. And all I know is that committee never suggested to or recommended to the mayor that that trial judge should be reappointed, so he is no longer a judge. Mr. Weinstein is clearly physically not in good health. As I said on the record in court, mentally he's fine. He's sharp as a tack. But physically he has been breaking down for years. And when you're a man in the 70s and you have health issues, being incarcerated is not the place to be. I know there's been a big deal made out of the fact that he's at Bellevue Hospital now, but when he was in prison upstate, he was in hospital. So he went from a hospital to a hospital. They tried to put him in Rikers, and when he was examined in Rikers, Rikers immediately said, no, you have to be in a hospital. I am very hopeful that he's not going anywhere anytime soon, but he's in constant pain that he's fighting through. And again, he's not in the setting as we all are, where if you want to take 2 Advil, you just open the medicine cabinet. It's a whole process to get 2 Advil. But he's fighting the fight the best that he can under the circumstances. Obviously, there's a new sense of energy about him because of the Court of Appeals ruling, but also because of the medicine and the treatment that he's getting here in Bellevue. It is considerably better than what he was getting upstate. And the Department of Corrections and Health and Human Services, or whatever those agencies are, deserve credit for looking at him as a human being named Harvey, as opposed to anything but that.
Do you expect at some point to try and get bail?
It's a little bit of a complicated issue. It obviously ties into California. In California, as in New York, there is a provision for what's called bail pending appeal. And typically part of that has to do with showing a court that you're likely to win during the appeal. Is that correct, Jennifer? That's one of the factors. And obviously now that this case has been reversed and it was used in that case, that would be one of the factors if I was a judge to take into consideration. If we even get a sniff that he's going to get bail in California, of course we would ask for bail here, because unlike what the defendant said, what the prosecutor said here, he was out on bail the last time when he was charged with life without parole, where he was charged with rape in the first degree, not once but twice. This case is so much more diminished. There were going to be 7 witnesses here. Best case scenario here is there are going to be 2. So of course he would be eligible for bail and actually be bail much lower than the bail that was set 5 years ago.
So do you plan to ask for it?
Only if things are going the right way in California. Otherwise, it's just a waste of everyone's time, and I don't practice law to waste anyone's time.
Hi, I have a question about the California appeal.
Jennifer, do you want to step up? No, she knows.
What he would say.
Well, no, I mean, are you concerned about that?
I'm not. Yeah, so you're right. There's a statute in California, it's 1108, that actually does permit the admission of propensity evidence. It's a little different than New York. But what remains the same for California to New York is that a judge absolutely has to do a balancing test to determine whether the admission of this propensity evidence would cause undue prejudice. That remains the same. That is true in California, it's true in New York, frankly it's true in every jurisdiction in this country. The court did not do that there. And so they have the same problems because even though you're correct, the law is a little different, there is the possibility that propensity evidence can be admitted, but that's not the end of the inquiry. I would also point out that this appeal in California does not turn entirely on this issue. I'm not even saying that's the best issue. That appeal was hanging on by a thread already because what people don't realize is Mr. Weinstein was either acquitted or the jury was hung on every single count in that indictment except the ones related to Jane Doe 1, and the judge there gutted his defense. He was prohibited from presenting evidence that showed that he was not even with her, that she was with somebody else on the night of the alleged assault. So I don't want to get too much into the weeds on that, but this issue about the Molyneux issue, the 1108 issue, yes, it is an issue in California. It's not the only issue. And at the end of the day, the judge still abused her discretion when she permitted all of that propensity evidence in. So.
Would Mr. Weinstein remain at Bellevue, or is there any scenario in which he would return upstate?
No, Mr. Weinstein will not be returning upstate. Upstate is only for people who are convicted. So he would stay downstate. It's up to the doctors where what the location of his body is.
Can you tell us about how they like the prison? Was he friends with?
Well, you read.
How did they with prisoners regard it?
He is, he's a charismatic guy. He's got a lot of charisma. He's got a lot of charm, and he's got a lot of great stories. So he's gotten along very well. He didn't have any fights, any altercations, nothing like that. He's an older, sickly man who's not a threat to anybody. He's very generous and friendly to people. As I mentioned in court, he's read hundreds of books. The ones that he highlighted to me, Diana, where are you? Come over here. Were the one about Abraham Lincoln.
Yep.
One about Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yep.
Anything else that I forgot? He's making the best. The human spirit is very powerful. Harvey Weinstein was used to drinking champagne and eating caviar, and now he's at the commissary paying for potato chips and M&Ms. But he keeps his chin up, and he makes the best out of a really horrible situation. And as I mentioned last week, when we spoke on the phone, he said, "Arthur, I told you I was innocent. I am innocent, but I just did 4 years in prison. away from my family, away from my children. You know, how do I get that back? And the answer is you don't. Yes, sir. Well, I've been practicing law for too long to talk about anything being a slam dunk. But obviously, the fact that the Court of Appeals said, you know, the only witnesses that could be there are the ones who are claiming to be complaining witnesses, and not, you know, don't forget, there were more witnesses who he was not charged with, just to show propensity, just to say, what a bad guy Harvey is. You want to know? Talk to this one, talk to that one. It's almost like, you know, conviction by rumor, conviction by you know, peer pressure, and as opposed to looking at the actual evidence and digging in. And so I would use the term, we're cautiously optimistic that if this case goes to trial, I mean, I'm not very concerned about Jessica Mann. I mean, obviously, Mr. Weinstein wants his name cleared. But when you're a criminal defense attorney and you have somebody's life in your hands, and you know if they get convicted of that charge, that nothing's happening to them, it does take some pressure off. The Mimi Haley count, it's very serious, but as I said, you know the DA's office isn't going to look at her and see whether she perjured herself, because we believe that she did. We're going to look into that and investigate it and see if that's something that could be brought up. Even if we could, you know, I mean, her cross-examination will be prepared for months, literally, and we're already starting. I mean, John Esposito, who is a former Manhattan Assistant District Attorney, he's already reading the transcripts. So, you know, we're going to dice it, slice it, and make sure that that jury hears everything from the day they met until the day she cashed the check of the lawsuit, of the check from the lawsuit that she swore under oath to these 12 jurors that she didn't want and she wasn't going to get. So she lied. She lied to those jurors.
I guess I'm just thinking that his children hadn't spoken to him since he worked here in the New York Times in 2017. Can you say anything about whether they're in contact again, whether they're with him?
I know he speaks to his young children very regularly, and he authorized me to say that's what he lives for, is for his 2 young children. Anything else? Good? I guess that would be a question between Harvey and I. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
She's right behind you. She's having trouble.
Hey, where's Tim went to?
Thanks.
All right, you ready for round 2?
That sucked. Appreciate that.
Hey, Fox. Hey, Fox. Who's Fox? Who's Fox? Right here. Right here. Could we bring this down a little bit so that the rest of the microphones, the faces, this is you. Yeah? You understand what I'm saying? Because it's so much taller than everyone else, everybody on the periphery doesn't get the same signal.
Does anybody know Gloria?
If you could just bring it in. Someone from 1010 Wins knocked my shit over and I was struggling to get this out. That's good. Okay. Good.
I'm attorney Gloria Allred. I represent complainant A, Mimi Haley, for which in the last criminal trial here in New York, the defendant, Harvey Weinstein, was convicted of criminal sexual assault. That testimony was obviously believed by the jury, and in addition, Mimi's testimony was not the only evidence presented. In addition to the Me Too witnesses, the Molyneux witnesses, there was also an outcry witness who also testified. In any event, the convictions were vacated. Now there is a new trial ordered by the New York Court of Appeals. Mimi has not yet reached a decision as to whether or not she will agree to testify in the new trial. She has stated that the vacating of the conviction was re-traumatizing to her, and that it will be even more traumatic to testify once again. She made an enormous sacrifice of time and emotion during the years prior to her finally taking the witness stand at the trial. She was very courageous. She withstood cross-examination. And based on her testimony, the judge sentenced the defendant to 20 years of the 23-year sentence for criminal sexual assault. It was forcible. The other 3 years were for the other victim, where there was a conviction of third-degree rape. The other victim was in the courtroom today. Mimi is not in New York at this time. So she's still thinking about it, and she certainly will let the prosecutors know when she reaches a decision. It's not an easy one for her. Having said that, as to the New York Court of Appeals decision, obviously, I do not agree with it. I respectfully would be with the dissent. I'm also licensed to practice in California, and was present at the California trial wherein there was a conviction of the defendant for one victim there. As to the setting aside of the New York convictions, that is not binding precedent on California. I can tell you that. I'm licensed in those states. However, I cannot predict what the California court will do. I understand that the defense brief for their appeal from the conviction is due this month. I understand some of the arguments that may be made, but I can't predict what the California court will do, except to say we have different law as to prior bad act witnesses or witnesses to uncharged crimes. In California, we can, or that is, the prosecutors can admit the testimony of prior bad act witnesses, even if it would show a propensity to commit other crimes. In New York, it cannot be admitted solely for that purpose, and the majority found that it was admitted solely for that purpose, although the dissent disagrees. It really, from the prosecution point of view, was admitted in order to show intent in order to defeat the premise of the defense that there was consent of the victims. Obviously, if it was forcible, there was no consent. In any event, people have asked me what will happen to the Me Too movement. Will the movement continue? And this is my answer. This movement is alive and well in New York, in California, and in many other states. And as the dissent pointed out in the New York Court of Appeals decision, acquaintance rape, which is what was essentially alleged acquaintance sexual assault, has a much lower conviction rate than stranger rape. And that is one of the reasons it's important to understand the context. It's important for juries to understand rape myths, and it's important from the dissent point of view to hear from prior bad act witnesses. I agree with that, and I think a bill should be introduced in New York similar to what we have in California. California is more protective of victims' rights than New York is now with this New York Court of Appeals decision. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'll just say Mimi doesn't have a timeline right now for making her decision, but hopefully it will be soon. Probably not soon enough for you, Arthur, but having said that, it'll be when she's ready.
Well, Arthur questioned your being here today.
Arthur questioned my being here?
You did.
Okay, well, I don't know why. Would you like to tell me why I should not be here as a victim's rights attorney for Mimi in New York? I can't hear you. Maybe. I like surprises, and that's why I didn't tell you in advance, Arthur.
And the same thing my representative Barnes said. This one came on it and did enjoy yourself.
Okay, I don't know. I would think you would have better things to do than to be concerned about my being here, but apparently not. So enjoy yourself. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you look at this one more time?
Is it? Thank you.
Nothing don't can't see it too. Never getting that off of the. Not like you haven't had enough out here. Sure.